What's up, guys? Dave TV here, and I have a special guest today for the very first interview of Why Not You interviews. Special guest near and dear to my heart, my sister. You can.
Hey guys, I'm Britt. I currently have a YouTube channel called Plan Your Life with Britt. It's all about saving, budgeting, and planning our best lives. So that's what I'm currently doing. My regular job besides that is I'm just a government worker, just like, you know, everybody else, just a regular worker.
All right, thank you. So guys, the reason why I brought her in today is because I see a lot of people trying to get their housing going, or whether they want to be landlords or they're in the stock. But I wanted to start with my sister simply because she does have different properties. But I wanted to basically make this Why Not You interview for you guys out there that are looking at different careers, especially for young kids and people of color who don't want to play basketball or don't want to rap. We could show you different careers that you could do or possibly plan out on your own. So without further ado, I guess my first question is, well, how has your 2020 been so far?
It's been fine. Just, you know, just trying to get used to it. It's just a little different with virtual school with my kids.
Okay.
You know, but now at this point, I'm kind of used to it. Just,
okay.
You know, as long as everybody gets better, that's what matters. That's what's important.
All right. And for those that don't know, how many kids do you actually have?
I have 4 kids.
4 kids.
Yeah.
She has 4 kids? Okay.
Yeah.
So, if you can you tell us a little bit about the real estate properties that you have now?
Okay, so currently my family and I, we own 2 rental properties and we own our residential property. And the 2 rental properties is just the start of what we're trying to leave for our children, the start of our legacy. And currently we're just trying to see about the 3rd property, how we're going to get the 3rd property for our family.
Okay.
So that multiple streams of income, and also to be able to leave real estate for our children.
That's dope. That's actually one of the greatest things I've heard from you. And I was telling my friends, I thought that was like an excellent idea. I just thought it was amazing. I said, wow, like when you retire or when you're older, you have properties that actually pass down to your children. So that's kudos to you and your husband for doing that.
Thank you.
You know, sincerely. So what has been the easiest thing about owning property, and what has been the hardest?
Okay, so I think the first, I think the easiest thing about owning a rental property is once you actually do the paperwork, the process to get the loan, and then once you have the keys to the home, well, not exactly the keys, you have the keys to the home, but your tenants are living there, so you can't actually go into the home and live in the home, right?
Wow.
But I think that's the easiest part. After that, well, then you have to start learning how to deal with tenants, how to advertise your rentals, and how to keep track of your income and taxes and things like that.
So you have to have great people skills essentially to deal with.
Oh, definitely.
Different
Especially if you're managing it, especially if you're managing the properties yourself.
Okay. And you would say that the hardest was dealing with different types of people, or is just having the property not being able to go in? What would you say more specifically?
As far as the hardest thing?
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing is just dealing with the different types of people. That would be the hardest thing, because there has to be a balance. I mean, I am, you know, my family and I, we're renting these properties, so it is another stream of income for us. So we're trying to have extra income coming in for our families to build our legacy. And the tenants, sometimes they don't, you know, they see the other side of things, that they think that I'm just, you know, for some reason they think that I'm rich and I have all this money that I don't have, but I work just like them. I just saved my money to put the down payments on these homes to try to build for our family. So to them, sometimes they might get upset, say for instance, if they pay their rent late. Now, the thing is, we're offering a service. So if we're offering a service to you, you have a place to live, a place to stay, a warm place, a place that is taken care of, because we make sure to take care of these properties. We are not slumlords in any way. We expect that there's an exchange. An exchange is paying us for that service, paying for that home that you're staying in. So if you do not pay, or you pay late, well, then sometimes they don't understand when we send them a letter or notice that says, listen, now you have a late fee. You have to pay this. Or if maybe some time has passed and they haven't paid their rent, and letters are coming in, now we have to get to the point where unfortunately You know, recently we had to evict somebody because of that, and they didn't seem to understand, which I don't understand how they understand, because you have to pay your rent. Don't you have to pay your electricity bill, you know, to keep your lights on? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's the hardest part, dealing with people who don't always seem to understand everything behind it. And, you know, keep in mind, we have to pay the mortgage.
Of course.
The mortgage is the bill that does not stop coming, whether, you know, they pay their rent or not.
You can't give like a late fee to like.
You can't. Yeah, right. Now we have to pay a late fee.
Exactly,
I mean, and then that's not good for us. So.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing your answer with me. So what I noticed too was one of Brittany's videos was actually cool to me, was when she actually had to, you know, the tenant had to leave and she actually went to the house and cleaned it up. How was that experience for you, actually going to the house after the tenant left? Like,
well, it just was a little disappointing because he left so much furniture in the house. I mean, it took my husband and I actually went back another day and fully cleaned up and took all the extra furniture out of the house. That probably took us about like 3 hours to get it into the van, lifting things in and out. And I think there's still just a little bit left in that apartment.
okay.
And I had my kids, you know, I'm trying to get them into this, let them learn how it really works, the behind the scenes. They helped me to clean the toilet, the bathroom sink, the refrigerator, the actual sink, because the tenants, they left rice and stuff, gunk in the sink. I mean, so, you know, it's just a part of the process. We have to prepare it, get it painted, and get some things repaired, and then we'll rent it out to the next tenant.
Wow. So how are your other tenants in comparison to the one that had to leave?
The other tenants, they're average people. I mean, like I said before, sometimes there's little issues with maybe paying the rent a little bit late. I had a tenant that every so often, for some reason, she'll pay the rent late. I mean, I don't know what's going on in her life. I know things happen. It's understandable. But also understand we have a contract. Yeah. So we have a contract. If you decide to pay the rent late, there is a fee. So that fee will be charged. And she pretty much gave us a call and, you know, said to my husband on his voicemail, "Oh, I see that you're charging the late fee." You know, like she, you know, and surprise. It's like, well, you're not, yeah, exactly. Why are you surprised? You paid it late. So she paid the late fee, and then it's funny because the next month came and she sent it late. But it was like right before I was just about to send it in the mail, because I do still give a little bit of a leeway. They have up until the 6th of the month to pay the rent, and then once after that, the 7th, there's a late fee charge. So this time she actually sent the rent. I was just about to send out the late fee, I think on the 7th, and the 7th I checked the mail, and she had sent the rent the next month with the late fee. Wow. So I think she got the hint. You know, I mean, like I said, we're good landlords. Really, anytime anything needed to be fixed. They had pest issues. We had pest control come in there and take care of it. She had pipe issues. We got it taken care of. And, you know, otherwise she seems to be happy with the home. So, you know, I don't know.
Wow. Okay, so what would you advise to anybody who wants to get started owning real estate? What would be the one or two things that you could advise to them?
If they want to get started, well, if you're young, if you're on the younger side, one of the things that I wish that I would have done is house hack. Okay. I highly recommend that to anyone. I would say that's, you know, even if you're under 30, I would say 20 to 25, but even if you're under 30, I think it could work. Or if you don't have children, I think it could work. Some people do this with children.
For the people that, what is house hacking?
So house hacking is when you decide to purchase a property, usually as a first-time home buyer, and you decide to live in the home and then you rent it out. So you could either rent out the extra rooms to roommates, or you could buy a multi-family home like a duplex or triplex or a quad, and then rent out those other apartments, and pretty much they pay your mortgage, and usually you have a little bit of extra income coming in, and then your money from your day job pretty much can go to whatever you want. You can save it for the next house if you want to.
Wow. So would you recommend people under 25 to even house hack? Or because I see that with a lot of people now, we're opening up, we're being a little bit more wiser, more conscious. You know, money acuity is raising. But for my generation, we're just now learning this, and I'm 28. So would you recommend like the newer generation or the people younger than us that are 21, 22 to even do it, to house hack? Would you recommend it? Or is it are they too young to do it? Do you think there's a limit on
No,
that?
I think you can do it. You can do it as young as 18. If the bank is willing to give you the loan,
of course,
willing to give you that mortgage, and you have the money for the down payment, do it as soon as possible. There's a YouTuber that I've watched. I can't remember his name right now, but I think he bought his first house at 19 years old, which I was very impressed. He was working in Target and a number of like jobs, and then eventually he got into drop shipping, and he just saved up till I think he had like maybe $20,000 to $30,000, and he bought his first property and pretty much renovated himself as much as he could, paid a few people to help out, and it's been renting ever since. And now he's trying to purchase more properties, and I'm like, this is so impressive.
I mean, it makes sense because if they give you a loan to go to school, they should be able to give you a loan.
Exactly.
Personal thoughts on it, give you a loan to get a house, to have some place to live,
and then it's extra income coming in.
Yeah, definitely. I wish I knew that when I was younger. So a couple of questions. What led you on the path to real estate? Was there any literature that you read or people that inspired you, or was it your own personal situation that's I want to just do better, get better, and be able to have different means of income? Where did it start?
So when I was a teenager, I was already kind of the type of person that said affirmations and manifested things, and I realized if I really just said these affirmations on a daily basis and actually put the work into them and just kept those things in the forefront of my mind, my goals, then I could easily achieve them. And then as I got into college, I started watching Susie Orman on TV, and she would help out people who pretty much would ask her on her show, can I buy this? Can I afford this? So it would be things like, I want to buy this fancy cell phone, or I want to buy this fancy TV. Can I afford this? I make this per year, I have this much debt, and she would run down everything, and then she would tell them what they could or couldn't. Wow. Of course people were upset when she said they couldn't, but you wanted her honest opinion. So I used to watch it, and that started getting me into budgeting a little bit and realizing how credit cards work. And then from there, I ended up picking up a book, which I know everybody has read at this point, Robert Kiyosaki's book, Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that really started opening my mind and changing my mind about things.
Wow. Okay, thank you. So, in terms of literature, Rich Dad Poor Dad, is a popular book. Were there any other books that you read that a lot of people may not know about, or your personal recommendations for somebody that...
So some books that I have read since then would be Think and Grow Rich, and another book that I have read is The Richest Man in Babylon. I think those books are really eye-openers, and they don't necessarily pertain to real estate. So real estate is not your thing, but you are interested in having some sort of multiple streams of income, or building a legacy for your family, right? It doesn't even have to be your children. It could be that you have nieces and nephews, or you have other family members, godchildren, that you want to leave something behind for. So by reading those books, it really opens your mind to see how those things can be done, the process. They have rules that are pretty much timeless. With the rich building wealth.
That's a great answer. For you and your answer, what stood out to me was that, the unselfishness aspect of wanting to leave a legacy for others, those close to us. But when I grew up, I always thought money was abundant. I guess we could say that, we share the same mind. It's like, she would say that, money's abundant. And for me, I started to take on that mindset. Oh, money's abundant. It doesn't really matter. But then you get older and you're like, well, I want this, I want that. And you don't have the money for it. You know what I mean? So for you, did you have to go through a learning curve? Or were you resistant to the change of while learning this discipline of, oh no, I can't afford that right now. I should save it for this. I guess the instant gratification versus holding out.
Yeah, that's a big thing, right? Living paycheck to paycheck. Everybody does it. So when I started my government job many years ago, as I started to get raises, what happened over time is that pretty much, let's say for instance, I was making $1,000 per paycheck per week. By the end of the weekend, I probably had about $50 in my pocket or less, because I'd be going out to the club, I go out with my friends, I go out to eat, I go shopping. Like, it was just the things to do. You do it when you're young. It's what it is. But the problem is that I continued to do this after I got married, after I had children, and it just was disappointing after a while. It was, you
It wasn't
look and
conducive
you
to
could,
yeah.
exactly, you can't save, and then that's when I started really thinking about getting into real estate. So we would have to save our first down payment. How are we going to save our first down payment? We would have to save the down payment. We would have to save the down payment for our first home. How would we save that if we didn't have control of our money? So that's when I started getting into budgeting, and budgeting really changed my life a lot. And that's actually why my YouTube channel is all about budgeting.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I guess you guys can see how it comes all full circle. That's amazing. I just now I'm realizing how everything comes.
How it comes, yeah, it comes together. Yeah, it did.
That's crazy. Wow. So for you, what was the hardest part about budgeting? Like I would say, because for me, I'm trying to learn budgeting, and this is to be completely transparent with the viewers. For me, I paid off my credit card twice this year, and now it's back up, and it's
it's hard.
It's like wow, you know what I mean? And when I look back, it's a bunch of we order outside food, or we want to do something in the moment that we don't necessarily need to do.
Yeah.
So
you have to find a balance. It's hard.
Exactly. So what was like the hardest thing or you wanted something, you're like, I can't have it right now. What was like that moment for you?
Okay, so because you have to think of I guess I had to think of what was the biggest goal. Like, what is the most important thing to you? That's what I think. Is once you think of what is most important to you and you focus on that, then that's it. Every day you just have to think about it. Like I said, I would put up notes on the walls. I would have it in my planner. I would just look at these things, and I would constantly immerse myself in looking at properties. Pretty much, I would look on Realtor.com, on Zillow,
so over time,
things like that.
Like just engrossing yourself in this mentality
and learning about how to be a landlord and how it works, and how to calculate return on investment. And the more I got into it, it got me more excited about saving for that down payment. And so the things, like you said, the instant gratification, things that you want right now, today, I was more excited about getting that property over time than those things. And don't get me wrong, there is a balance. There were some days that we did eat out, that we did spend a little bit, but we just kept in mind, listen, we just limited it. And once we limited it, okay, but it was enough to satisfy our, here and now.
Okay.
That way,
it was for you, was finding a balance of
exactly. I think that's all we need is a balance. Like say for instance, if you want to spend out of your paycheck $200 per week on eating out, well, that's fine as long as it works for you. As long as you can still pay your bills and you have some money to save. If I want to spend $150, again, that's fine. It doesn't matter the amount. It's just about what will satisfy that person, because you also don't want to feel deprived. If you feel deprived, then naturally you are going to just take that money right back out of savings and spend it.
Like reactionary to like the situation. Okay, so I guess a couple more questions from me. I'm curious naturally. So for you, what would you advise somebody, or do you have an idea now, like who's meant to be a landlord, or like what would you advise somebody who's like, well, I'm thinking about it, but I'm not sure. Should I get into it? Should I not? But also for that person, what have you learned about landlords in total? Like, how can you tell somebody who's not meant to be in real estate?
Okay.
Yeah.
So to me, it's almost like the stock market. People think it's so different, but I feel like it's a little bit the same in the sense that, right, the money that you put into the stock market, it could go down or it can go up. Now the same thing kind of goes, let me compare to the rent, right? The rent will go up over time if you decide to increase it over time, right? Slowly over time. But you have the risk still. So the risk is there that the tenant won't pay the rent.
Like, I'm not paying this, I can't afford this, or I don't have security in my job.
So that's the risk. Okay. But then you also have the other side of the risk. Excuse me. But then you have the other side of the risk where the rent goes up and over time the tenant is paying. So there's more increasing profits going into your pockets. Wow. So it just depends on what you like. Like, to me, I also invest in the stock market, but for me, real estate is more my thing. So if you're the type of person who likes the stock market more, then I advise you can also invest in REITs, which are real estate
Real estate investment trust.
Real estate investment trust.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of what I was saying. Real estate investment trust. So that way you can still participate. You put some of your money into it and you can gain profits back, but you don't have to be active. So I'm a little more active because I'm a landlord. To me, if you don't want to be active, again, you can have somebody else manage, which eventually we will make it more passive and have somebody else manage. Right now we're self-managing because we felt like we wanted to learn the ins and outs and we don't want to be overcharged, because if you don't know the process, then right, they can just overcharge you. Just like, okay, I guess I gotta pay it, which could cut in and eat into our profits. So we decided to self-manage first. So if you're thinking that you cannot self-manage, then maybe, you know, you can't be a landlord, because being a landlord requires answering that phone when there's an emergency. Being a landlord requires you to call that plumber to get them over there to fix the toilet, fix the pipes. Being a landlord sometimes requires us to clean up the apartment and save money that way, right? Instead of paying somebody else to clean it up.
So I think all your answers have been great, but I guess my last question would be, if you knew what you know now, would you have chosen to go to college, or would you have chosen, I'm gonna be 18 and just take this loan out? And cause I know we shared in the past
differences on education.
not only that, but in the aspect of, I remember you telling me that if I start early, I would have a building now.
Oh yes,
and,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, so when you told me that,
gunning for that building, guys.
Yeah. So 2020, speaks to existence.
Okay.
But when you told me that, I started opening my own eyes. Like wow, there's a couple houses that you have, and the idea of passing down to your children is a dope idea. It's cool, but also hearing about the building, they say if your dreams don't scare you, then you shouldn't have them, or you're not big enough. You know what I mean? So that's something I'm learning from my own sister. Live me not right. You know what I mean? But for me, the question is, would you go to college? Or would you just be 18 and say, I want to be a landlord full time?
Gosh. I think that I still would have went to college, because I do feel like, for me personally, you don't have to go to college, obviously, to own property and get into real estate. But for me personally, I like having an educational background. I like having that, to me, it's a foundation. So I am glad for that. And right now I'm actually going to graduate school. I don't want to say for what right now. It's kind of personal. I want to get through it, I'll let everybody know once it's done at the end of 2021. We'll give an update. But right now I'm going to grad school, and what the courses that I'm taking right now and the certification I'll end up with is actually going to help me more with real estate, with finances, with taxes, which are things that a lot of us, black and brown people don't really know about, which we could benefit from a lot.
So it's kind of crazy, because we talk about college and now it's like, wow, it kind of pays off, because she's going to grad school and she wouldn't be able to do that unless she got the
it's crazy. It comes all around.
Yeah, it's full circle again. But thank you for joining us. I sincerely appreciate it. This is the first Why Not You interview, guys, from somebody special near and dear to me. So thank you for joining us.
No problem.
So bye.
All right, bye guys. Oh, check me out on Plan Your Life with Britt on YouTube if you have a chance to. I hope you guys know how to budget.
Sorry. First interview, my bad shit was fuck, but she got it. She remembered. Thank you.
All right, bye.